Good evening. This is Kiana, and today I want to come on here and talk about a video that was uploaded to YouTube. And I think this was uploaded about 3 weeks ago, and there was an accompanying article to the video that CBS News published on its website. And it had to do with a young girl who was handcuffed against her violation at school. Now, there is a lot to this story, so we're going to get into that soon. But before we do, I really want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Also, share and like it because what it does is it moves the video up in the algorithm, and it also helps to bring awareness to these issues that are actually impacting children across the United States. So let's get into it. So there was a young girl, her name was McKenna Lombardo, and she attended Cryar Intermediate School. And she is a child who has special needs. And she admits, McKenna, the child herself, admits that she was being disruptive, wasn't following the directives of her superiors at school. And we understand that sometimes children, they can be disruptive at school without following the directives of their superiors. It's a long stretch of time to be in school and learning. And sometimes children can get angsty and a little bit agitated with just kind of sitting for extended periods of time. But in this particular situation, there were, of course, allegations being made against McKenna that she allegedly was throwing markers at her teachers and a number of other allegations. And so in the video, what we see is that McKenna is in the bathroom and she is just kind of like, stalling, not coming out of the bathroom. She's just kind of procrastinating and messing with the paper dispenser or just trying to get paper from the dispenser. And so there's two teachers that are surrounding McKenna in this space that we see in the video. And afterwards, we see a law enforcement officer instruct McKenna to exit the bathroom. And there is a little bit of, back and forth between McKenna and the officer. She's saying that she needs to put on her shoes, and the officer is grabbing her forcefully and places her in handcuffs and in the back of a police car. And so my problem with this particular story, especially in Texas, is that there is a law passed in Texas that no child should be placed in handcuffs. Now, this is in my personal opinion, this is a disregard for that law that law enforcement officers did place McKenna in handcuffs, despite there being a law that specifies that if the child is not combative or, excuse me, not necessarily combative, but not like a threat to themselves or others, that they shouldn't be placed in handcuffs. And specifically, this law is called House Bill 459, and it says no kid in handcuffs. HB 459 would prohibit peace officers and school security personnel from handcuffing and restraining or using chemical irritant sprays on students ages 10 years old or younger. Now, keep in mind that McKenna is 10 years old. So she was 10 years old at the time that this incident happened. And it says, except in situations where the student poses a serious threat to themselves or others. So the ban would apply to law enforcement duty and security personnel, And of course, this is uh, applicable to situations where it's happening on school property and schools are sponsoring a specific event or a situation or activity. And so I think that at the time that McKenna was handcuffed, that this law had already passed. So to reiterate, it was a disregard for the law for the officer to actually place McKenna in handcuffs. Now, what were the allegations against McKenna? So the allegations that was launched against McKenna was that she assaulted a public servant. Howsoever, the when her father watches the video online, like I think that they actually released footage to the family, there wasn't any evidence that this child assaulted the teacher. And what's unfortunate in this particular situation is that what was happening was that the officer in this particular case was trying to solicit a felony charge against McKenna, knowing good and well that she is a 10-year-old girl and just a young girl with special needs. And so the father has specified, of course, he articulated in the video, which I 100% agree, that it did appear as if the teachers are being pressured to bring these charges against McKenna, even though I don't think that they really felt and even knew that. So it appeared in the piece of footage that I watched that they didn't really think that she assaulted the officer. So, for example, part of the footage was like, I think one of the persons said, uh, she assaulted you. And she was like, yeah, she did assault me. And she said, well, no, she didn't. She actually just blocked me in, uh, I guess, the bathroom. She was blocked in the bathroom. And so when this footage was released, of course, or not, of course, excuse me, when this footage was released to the public, what we see is McKenna in the bathroom, and she's really not assaulting any person. Now, I think CBS News, they did their due diligence because they reached out to the school and asked for other footage that could balance out the story, right? So there were allegations being made against McKenna. And so what happened was CBS Texas said, okay, do you have any footage that is refuting this position that we see, or this footage that we're seeing where McKenna is not assaulting anyone? And they, I think, declined. They didn't respond. And I think the response that they did give was that they were respecting HIPAA laws or child privacy laws. But it's important to understand that before law enforcement officers can place a child in handcuffs, they must first show that all other control methods have been shown to fail or have failed. And so, what does that mean? So, they tried every method, and each method has failed, and therefore, this is the method of last resort. Restraints and handcuffs are always supposed to be uh, a method of last resort, and it didn't appear like that in this situation. And I'm just concerned because whatever happened to law enforcement officers actually having that child to adult conversation with children, and speaking to them as if they're human beings, and you know which can gain compliance. Like, for example, I could see an officer saying, McKenna, come on, McKenna, let's get out of here. And or like, McKenna, what happened? Tell me your side of the story. What's going on today? How do you feel? Like, what are you going through? And it appears as if officers are not doing that, which raises the question as to whether officers should be really arriving on the scene to specific incidents like this. It is really disheartening to see that children are being placed in handcuffs in the United States when they have not committed a crime. Again, McKenna acknowledges in her interview with CBS News that she wasn't following the directives of her teachers. But she's also states that she didn't think that that was actually going to get her sent to jail. And none of us do, right? So, like, because a child doesn't follow the directives of their superiors, they are now being hauled to jail. This is the school to prison pipeline that we have been speaking about that is happening within the United States, that children are actually being funneled into the prison system. Now, you may say, well, Kiana, what is the problem with placing a child in handcuffs? Well, the problem with placing a child in handcuffs is its attack on their dignity and reputation. For example, when we as a society see children in handcuffs, there is this assumption that the child has committed a crime. And so that assumption that a child has committed a crime stains the child as a criminal. And this is irrespective of whether or not the child has committed a crime. So this assumption that a child has committed a crime, irrespective of whether or not they've actually committed a crime, what it essentially does is it tarnishes the child's reputation. It's the child's dignity, the child's honor, because children, especially McKenna's age, often can't differentiate between right and wrong. And when children cannot or they're unable to differentiate between right and wrong, or just experiencing that child insubordination that all children go through, what it really does is it is a mark upon the child's reputation. And of course, it is a mark upon their dignity. And it is just a very unfortunate thing that there is a continuation of placing children in handcuffs. So, let's see, is there anything else in this story? Yeah, so I will link this video in the description. You can actually go and watch it. I will also link some readings, because what I've been doing is I've been actually curating a number of stories that have to deal with, or that has to deal with children being handcuffed in the United States, how this is an attack on their reputation. And you can read that, and of course, how this violates the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. These stories are also a call for the United States to ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, because, of course, when we see children being handcuffed, it is well, in my opinion, it diminishes the rights of the child. So, if the US ratified this convention, I think it would be stronger protections for the rights of the child. So that is all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Real Kiana Canada, at Real Kiana Canada. You can also follow me on Twitter at Kiana_Canada, Kiana_Canada. I'm also on Facebook. You can look me up under my name, Kiana Canada, or that link is in my channel description, so you can see that link there. And the articles, you can actually read those articles on Medium. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.